Hey everyone, Sam here, otherwise known as FPL Pricey, and in today's video, I'm going to be running through my favourite Game Week 20 wildcard draft. Welcome back everyone to another video. Now, over the last 24 hours, I've been getting a number of messages asking me what would I do if I was on wildcard in Game Week 20. Of course, we've all had our chips for the second half of the season reloaded and reset into Game Week 20. A lot of people are wondering what we should do if our team's in a little bit of a mess, and wildcard is always an option. So this video is with the intent of giving you some ideas on what you might want to do if you were on a wildcard straight away and you just wanted to use the chip immediately. I'm personally not doing it, but this could hopefully be useful to you if you're out there looking at wildcarding now. And also throughout the video, I'm not just going to talk about the options that I've selected, I'm also going to run through a few alternatives in a few different positions as well. So if you're someone who usually skips to the end of the video, that's absolutely fine. Feel free to do so. But throughout the video, I'm just going to run through some A's versus B's in case, let's say you get to the end of the video, you're not perfectly happy with my wildcard draft. Do go and check out the rest of the video where maybe I've offered an alternative that you prefer a little bit more. Now, if you did enjoy today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like. And if you're new around here, please do consider subscribing as well. And before we move on to the wildcard, a very happy new year from me. Hopefully 2026 is full of green arrows for all of you watching. Okay, so enough wasting time. Let's start off by taking a look at my goalkeepers and my defensive five. So in goal, Dubravka is not really a surprise. You could look at John from Nottingham Forest as another 4.0 million alternative in goal, but I can't guarantee that he's going to continue starting, whereas with Dubravka, at the very least, you can. And we'll all have a bench boost we want to use later on in the season. You do want a starting goalkeeper. So Dubravka, I think, stays for almost everyone on a wildcard. The keeper I have chosen is a little bit more expensive. I've gone with Pickford in goal rather than a cheaper Kelleher or Verbruggen. I do quite like the combination with Verbruggen and Dubravka. They rotate really well. But I just think that Everton defence is something that I want to target given their upcoming fixtures. I'll quickly switch over to the live screen on a live FPL site. Let's use Tarkowski as an example. If we look at the upcoming fixtures, because we're wildcarding, you're not going to get another shot at wildcarding. This is the last one. You're going to want to set up for the long term. Looking long term, Everton's fixtures all the way through to Game Week 27 look really solid. You can imagine clean sheets in a lot of those games. Obviously, they won't keep one in all of them, but it's good enough, and Everton are a good enough defence that I'd undoubtedly be wanting to target them defensively. So, obviously, at the end of the season, they've got Arsenal Game Week 30, Liverpool at home in Game Week 33, Man City 35. To be honest, I'd still be perfectly happy having Pickford even for those fixtures. For me, he's a bit more expensive, but worth the money in comparison to a Kelleher or a Verbruggen. Given you're on a wild card, I would probably go with him. So if we switch back to my defenders, I would go with the Arsenal defensive double up. There are maybe some doubts over the minutes for Timber because White is back and on the bench most weeks now. So he might get some reduced minutes. And Gabriel as well has just come back from quite a long-term injury. I would still go ahead with both of them. The upside on Timber is huge. 0.3 XGI per 90 is very, very solid. Gabriel has very good goal threat from set pieces, and we know he's great on the DEFCON, and they're both in Arsenal's strongest 11. Given that they're in a title fight right now, I don't think they're going to want to rotate all that often. If they get reduced minutes, it will be once in a while, not most weeks. So I think that Gabriel and Timber are worth the money. And if I was on a wild card, again, I'd want to be setting up long-term, and they're both very solid long-term options. And in my view, probably the best two defenders in the game. Gabriel is probably one of the best players in the game, full stop. So I'd undoubtedly have at the very least him in my back line. Moving across, I have gone with the double Everton defence by having Tarkowski in there as well. Now, the reason that I haven't gone Keane, and you could save the money by going with Michael Keane instead. Number one is we've got a current injury doubt over him going into Game Week 20. He missed Game Week 19. But also, we don't know when Branthwaite's going to come back. So it just feels like a transfer waiting to happen. We might have him for another 3 or 4 game weeks, and that's great. But on a wild card, again, given that we can't use another wild card before the end of the season, I would set up for the longer term. Tarkowski is going to continue to get 90 minutes a match. He's excellent on the defensive contributions. And again, it targets that very solid Everton defence with good fixtures to come. So it stacks the Everton defence alongside the double up of Pickford. And I think that double Arsenal, double Everton, most weeks is going to pay dividends. Across from that, we've got Lewis Hall. Now, Lewis Hall might be the position that you're willing to downgrade here if you're tight on money. I've got the exact funds required for this entire wild card. It's pretty affordable, but if you've got a little bit less in the bank, Lewis Hall might be a compromise that you're willing to make. He's 5.3 million now at time of recording, might keep going up before the game week 20 deadline. Newcastle have some excellent fixtures over the next 3 or 4. Again, I've got Lewis Hall in my team, so I'm just going to show him here. You've got Crystal Palace at home, followed by Leeds at home, Wolves away, Aston Villa at home. So 3 home games in the next 4. And again, he's a pretty good long-term hold. Newcastle's defensive data is solid enough. And although they haven't actually kept that many clean sheets, I think with the fixtures, I'd probably still be backing them. Alternatively, if you wanted to go cheaper, I'd look at Chiao instead, who is, I think, 0.3 cheaper now. That's correct. Obviously, same fixtures, maybe a little bit more nailed. And Lewis Hall did seemingly get a little bit of a knock in game week 19. So if you're worried about that, just go with Chow, save the money, a little bit less attacking threat, especially from open play. From set pieces, Chow is still solid, but he's also got defensive contributions. Then again, weirdly enough, so does Lewis Hall. His defensive contributions per 90 is actually still very solid, especially for a fullback. So I wouldn't look past Lewis Hall for that reason. He would probably make it in if you've got the money. And if he is deemed fit for game week 20, obviously he got that knock, kept playing through it in game week 19. I think he'll be fine. And he would be on my wildcard at time of recording. Finally, I have gone cheaper with my final defender. I've picked Alderete. There are a few other 4.0 defenders in the game. He's probably my favourite. He's a little bit cheaper than Mukiele, for instance. He's got a bit of attacking threat from set pieces. He's excellent on the defensive contributions, and Sunderland have some good fixtures coming as well. So a pretty simple one. We can't go with Rodon because he's out. I wouldn't be going with a Burnley defender right now because they are shipping goals for fun. Sunderland look like the tightest defence out of the 3 with those really solid, cheap options. Alderete ticks a lot of boxes there. So I'm going to go with this back 5. But like I said, if you wanted to downgrade Tarkowski a little bit to Michael Keane and take a risk on the minutes, or Lewis Hall comes down to Chiao maybe, possibly another 4.5 million defender out there that you like the look of, like Van der Ven, for instance, with some good fixtures coming, that is also absolutely fine. Okay, so moving into the midfield, and the first player is one that is maybe a little bit controversial. I'm going to keep Bukayo Saka on a wild card. A lot of managers out there are wondering whether or not he's worth the money. I think there's definitely an argument that he's not. He's ticking along fairly nicely. He's mainly just picking up assists right now, but the underlying data is still good. It's just whether or not he's ever going to truly explode and give us the hauls that you kind of want from a 10 million plus midfielder. I'm going to back him to actually return on that value at some point over the next few weeks. I think Bournemouth's an excellent fixture, for instance, and I do think that he's still got a reasonable share of penalties. So I think that haul is coming. Plus, crucially, it's a bit of a structural thing on a wild card. I would want a more expensive midfielder. In fact, I'd want 2 more expensive midfielders. You can see, we'll talk about another one in a minute, just so that I can shift it on to other important players in a few game weeks when the fixture shift occurs. So again, if I go back to the live screen, Saka for now is absolutely fine. Liverpool's not a great fixture, fair enough, but Bournemouth's fine, Nottingham Forest fine, Man United's fine, Leeds is fine, Sunderland. You can hold on to him pretty much throughout the entire season if you wanted to. However, there is another player that I did consider putting on a wild card, but I just don't think the minutes are quite there yet, and that is Cole Palmer. Now, the reason I like Saka so much on a wild card is because he's almost exactly the same price as Cole Palmer. In a couple of game weeks' time, Cole Palmer's going to become more popular again, as long as we see the minutes improve. Obviously, he's just come back from an injury. The minutes are being managed right now, but they are improving week on week. And even in the tight turnarounds, he's still starting games right now. I think when we've got a bit more breathing room and there are maybe not so many midweek deadlines, Palmer's minutes should start to tick upwards. That might coincide with a really nice fixture run in a few game weeks. So we could look at game week 22, for instance, as a good hopping on point, Brentford at home, and then obviously you carry him all the way through to game week 27 as a minimum. But game week 24, definitely going to be interesting. So for me, the reason Bukayo Saka is an easier pick on a wild card than Declan Rice, number one, is because Rice is currently flagged and potentially injured. but also because it's an easy one transfer swap across to Palmer if we become desperate to have him by the time we get to game week 24. So that's the reason that I like Bukayo Saka as much as I do. And a similar logic is applied to Phil Foden. Now, he's gone a little bit quiet in the last couple of game weeks. I actually think he's just been quite unlucky. He had a great shot saved by John against Nottingham Forest. I haven't seen him in game week 19, yet. I'm recording it before the final games of game week 19. So Foden for me would be in. I think he's been a bit unlucky. Could have got an assist very easily in game week 18 as well, by the way. And a little bit like Bukayo Saka, he makes for a good placeholder for in a few game weeks' time. Now, again, I'm going to keep going back to the live screen here. Foden makes for a really good make way or a stopgap for Bruno Fernandes. So why am I typing Bruno? That's not right. Let's go Bruno Fernandes here. Apparently, he's already pushing to come back into the fold and back into training for Man United. So he might be back pretty soon. Now, who knows? That might even be by game week 2021. We don't know that for sure yet. But I think very likely he's going to be back after the Arsenal game at the very latest even. So probably before that, I imagine he's back for Man City or Arsenal. But if he's not back for Burnley, I think the next jumping on point is probably game week 24, 25. And then Bruno Fernandes, one of the best picks in the game at that value, is probably going to go down by another 0.1, 0.2 in that time too. Foden, I've got him in my team here. I got him slightly early, but he's 9 million at time of recording. You can easily jump off of Foden to Bruno Fernandes. Now, Foden's got that plum fixture against Wolves in game week 23. Like I said, Bruno Fernandes probably becomes very appealing in game week 24. So Foden would be in for now. I think the fixtures until then are absolutely fine. The data's good as well. And then you can look at jumping across to Bruno Fernandes from Foden there. Now, back to the graphics. I've also gone with double Man City midfield. This is the punty position in my team. I've gone with Ryan Cherky. I just love him. He's such a good player. He is one of the most exciting players we've had in the Premier League in quite a while now. And actually, when you look at it, the underlying data is very good. It's at about 0.7 XGI per 90. The majority of that is assist threat, so he's not getting that much XG per 90 any given game week. But he's just so exciting, and I do back him to continue to start matches and to continue to get decent minutes. He's playing so well that I don't know how they can bring him out of the side, to be honest. But there is some risk there, I suppose. But Man City are a great attack, one of the best in the league. They are putting teams to the sword right now. And I think on a wild card, this is an opportunity to differentiate yourself from the crowd a little bit and go with triple Man City attack and put all of your eggs into one basket there rather than spreading the risk and maybe going with a defender. I'm not sure I love Nico O'Reilly at the moment. I think there are other defenders that are providing just as good, if not better value. But I don't know if there are that many midfielders at around Cherky's price that I prefer for value. So 6.7 million, I think he's excellent. Now, again, I'm going to go back over to the live screen. I've got Szoboszlai in my team. Now, if you're not convinced on Cherky's minutes, which is absolutely fair enough, he's probably not a long-term guarantee and he's not completely secure. If you weren't that secure on it, or if you weren't that confident, I would offer you Dominik Szoboszlai. He is boring, and he doesn't have a ton of open play threat, but he's playing more advanced again now. Right back is a thing of the past, it seems. They've got Frimpong back, Bradley's back. I think Szoboszlai will be playing more advanced. He gets 90 minutes a match, no question about it. He served his suspension already, so that's not a worry. And for the time being, at least, he's on penalties. So if you weren't feeling the risk of Cherky, maybe Szoboszlai at the same sort of price, in fact 0.1 cheaper, might be more your cup of tea. So that's absolutely fine as well. Would not mind replacing Cherky with Szoboszlai there. Next up, I've gone with Morgan Rogers. Now, Morgan Rogers, the data's not excellent, but I back the player. The player is absolutely fantastic. I think he is the reason that, or a large part of the reason Aston Villa are in the position in the league that they're in right now. He does tend to haul in the easier games, so we're looking for a good run of fixtures for Rodgers in order to pick him. I didn't love him for Chelsea or Arsenal, blanked him both, but now the fixtures are turning a corner, and importantly, they're turning a corner for a long, long time. So back to the live screen once again. If we look at Rodgers' fixtures from now, actually all the way through to game week 36, There's not a single game week that I hate owning him for. I think Newcastle away is probably one of the more difficult ones, but next 3 are absolutely fine. After Newcastle in 23, you've got Brentford, Bournemouth, who are shipping goals for fun right now. Brighton, in fact, all the way down. Let's go, just scroll all the way down. You can see it. It's a sea of green and grey. The next 2 really difficult fixtures are Liverpool in 37, arguably not even that tough right now, and Man City away in 38. So you can hold on to him for a very, very long time. You don't have to worry about future transfers. And a bit like Cherky, there's an element of, I'm going to just chase the upside there. He is a fantastic player. The data might not support him as the best FPL pick right now, but I think sometimes you've got to use the eye test as well as the data. And I think Rodgers and Cherky, in fact, more Rodgers because Cherky's at least got the data. Rodgers for me is a player that I would back based on what I'm seeing on the pitch. And I think he's going to continue to do very, very well. At 7.4 million, I still think he's reasonable value. If only he had penalties as well, then he would be incredible value. But I still think he's fine. So Rodgers is in for me as well as a good long-term hold. And again, on a wild card, you want to minimize the short-term punts because we're not going to have another opportunity to make 10 transfers at once. So Rodgers is in. And then finally, I've gone with Garner as my 5th midfielder. Mainly on the bench, but he is very good value for money. He's been extremely solid for minutes, almost 90 minutes a match solidly throughout the entire season so far. He's actually not bad on the attacking data either, about 0.21 XGI per 90. So we're looking at an attacking return 1 in every 5 matches, which for a player at that price is absolutely fine. Now, with Garner, you've got good fixtures coming, but it does lock you out of another Everton option. So when Ndai comes back from the African Cup of Nations, you couldn't go for him too easily. You'd have to find the money and then upgrade Garner. Same goes for Dewsbury Hall, although Dewsbury Hall's at the same price, so you could just make a swap with one transfer. But he might not be the 3rd best Everton player to own. So that's my one consideration there. And if you weren't convinced of going with Garner, then you could look at Stack instead at 4.8, 4.9 million. You could look at Enzo Lefebvre, who's on penalties for Sunderland at 4.8, 4.9 million as well. Or if you've got the money, Elliot Anderson is also absolutely fine. A little bit more expensive though, so I couldn't personally afford it. But I think Garner's fine, really good on DEFCON, averaging about 11 DEFCON per 90, decent attacking threat, and absolutely nailed. Okay, so before we move into the forward line, I should add a note to the previous section. I forgot to mention Cunha as an option. He is still an option. I do still like him. He's in my team right now, but it feels pretty short term for me, considering one of the 3 good fixtures is already out of the way, and they were pretty disappointing in that match too. So you could go with Cunha, that's absolutely fine, but he felt a little bit expensive, and I think Bruno's going to be back fairly soon, so he'll probably lose the penalties. He won't be as talismanic, and they look pretty disappointing with a very good fixture against Wolves. So I would personally avoid it now, given that he's got 2 good fixtures left rather than 3, and he's probably had the easiest of the lot already. So Cunha, I'd probably place to one side. Let's move into the forward line. Erling Haaland, let's not waste any time on. We know that he'd be in on a wild card. There's no point risking it. His upside is crazy good, and he'll be my captain most weeks. No question about that. The interesting 2 would probably be the next 2. I'm still going with 2 up top with 1 bench forward, effectively a dead spot. But I think there is an opportunity to at least have a playing striker rather than a Mark Giu if you wanted to. Mark Giu at 4.2 million is also fine. He's in my current team. I wouldn't be rushing to upgrade him to Mane, for instance. But Mane has got 2 90 minutes in a row now, and Wolves are scrambling a little bit. He's also looked pretty good. So I think his minutes I might continue on this sort of trajectory. If that's the case, 4.5 million is pretty decent value for anyone, considering that they're a regular starter up front or in an advanced position for any Premier League club. What I would mention is that I wouldn't expect miracles out of him. He's a Premier League player. He gets minutes right now anyway, but there's no guarantee that he will in the future. But he is playing for Wolves, who have 3 points after 19 game weeks and who aren't scoring many goals at the moment either. So the attacking data is not great. It is mainly just to make sure that you've got that final bench option who's at least getting some game time, whereas Mark Giu is just not getting that at the moment. If you needed the money, no problem in downgrading it to Giu instead. If you've got a lot more money, and I know some of you do, consider Calvert-Lewin. He's a little bit more expensive, but obviously he's on a bit of a hot streak right now. He's on penalties, we think. He's getting good minutes. I wouldn't mind that if you've got the money to upgrade that third striker to Calvert-Lewin. That's absolutely fine. The final player I want to talk about is that second striker. I've gone with Jarrod Bowen. Ekitike nearly made it into this draft, but I had to start making downgrades considering he's a bit more expensive. And given that we've already had two of the better fixtures, by the time we get to game week 20, Leeds will be out of the way, of course, as well. So with that in mind, he is getting good minutes. He's got decent data and he's playing for a great attack. But he is also north of 9 million. And I think there's more you can do with that money. I've got Ekitike on my side. It's not like I regret owning him. I still think he'll do fine over this period. But I think Jarrod Bowen is just a great long-term hold. He gets 90 minutes a match. If Paqueta is injured, and he did go off with a little bit of a knock, or at least he was suffering with a knock in game week 19. We don't have any news on whether or not he'll be fine for game week 20. If he is out, then Bowen might even be on penalties as well. Plus, Bowen's got very, very solid long-term fixtures. So for one final time, let's go over to the live screen. Let's bring up Bowen's fixtures over the next few. And by the way, the attacking data is not anything to shout about. I think it's like 0.21, 0.23 XG per 90. That's not good. But the next few fixtures are amazing. You've got Wolves away, so great jumping on point, all the way through to game week 27. That is a great, great run of fixtures. Not worried about any of those. You'd start him in the lot. Chelsea's probably the hardest one in 24, but even that is fine. And even with bad fixtures, even if it was Liverpool, Fulham, Man City, and you still had to hold on to him, and remember, we've got transfers. We can always get rid of a few of these players. But even if you did want to get rid of him, or even if you had a few other issues, by game week 28, you could hold on to him at that point. He's never a bad player to own because he continues to get 90 minutes and he's so talismanic for West Ham that he will just tick along with the odd goal here or there. He's rarely going to haul. That's fair. But when he does get one attacking return, because most of West Ham don't do many other attacking things or don't keep clean sheets, he's usually the one that gets bonus points as well. So every attacking return so far this season, he's been picking up at least a bonus point or two. I think he picked up 2 bonus points attached to this goal against Brighton, but also got a yellow card, so went down to 7 points. This would have been an 8-pointer off of 1 goal in a 2-2 draw, where there are plenty of other attacking returns, by the way. I just think he's a very solid long-term pick who's going to tick along very nicely at a decent price. I'm looking at him in my personal team right now as well. I wouldn't overlook Jarrod Bowen whatsoever. Now, there are other options. You could look at Thiago. He's still got good fixtures. He's still at a good price, 7 million, and he's on penalties as well, which we can't guarantee of Jarrod Bowen. That is also absolutely fine, saves you a bit of money. João Pedro's coming into good fixtures soon, but the minutes haven't been great recently. He's been subbed a few times. Ollie Watkins' form is starting to get better, but he is quite expensive at 8.5 million. If I had Morgan Rogers in my wildcard, I'm not sure I'd have space for Watkins as well. Can't trust either Newcastle striker because they're going to keep rotating with each other. So Voltemada and Wissa are probably both out of contention. Honestly, there's not really a lot else. So I think it's Ekitike if you can afford it and you're not making compromises elsewhere. But other than that, I think Jarrod Bowen is a very solid option for quite a while now. So that's my wildcard 15. Do let me know what you think of it in the comments below. And of course, if there are any players I haven't mentioned in today's draft, do let me know as well what I've missed and we can have a chat about it. I've probably considered them and for whatever reason, I've just overlooked them in the wildcard. Doesn't mean they're bad options. It's just not going to be a 30-minute video. So let me know in the comments below what you think. What would your wildcard be if you were on a wildcard this week? And as always, if you did enjoy today's video, I would massively, massively appreciate it. If you could, leave a like. If you're new around here, do consider subscribing if you enjoyed today's content. And I'll be back with you tomorrow as we run through my team selection ahead of Game Week 20.